Mic check, mic check. 1, 2. What is this? Will StreamYard work so I can handle my business? StreamYard and YouTube, I swear they be tripping on me. They be tripping on me. I don't think they want my voice to be heard. I don't think they want my perspective to be heard. I think the devil is just busy all the way around, all the way around. So, this conversation is for everyone that wants information. You don't have to be black to hear my perspective on this conversation. I just want it to be informative. Um, and for all of you, this is always reposted on YouTube. So, feel free to replay it at your leisure. At your leisure. And I have to remember to look at the camera. My eyes be all over the place when I am doing these streams, but I'm a rookie in the game. You know how it be. So I want to get into some topics that I've been thinking about lately. I'm just like a habitual thinker these days, and I'm just like, okay, we have to have some sensibility to kind of understand some things. And I drop Bible verses on people that I feel like is relevant for them to think about. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I do a lot of polls that really get people to kind of thinking about, different topics, situations in society and life. Hopefully they're not shadow banning me. I think anytime I put black in my topic, YouTube's algorithms, StreamYard's algorithms just start messing with it. But we just gonna keep it moving because we know that the algorithm demons are out and about. But if you follow me on LinkedIn, check out my new poll. I said, which is the most important for people to have these days? Faith in God, better government, access to more opportunities, a sense of individualism. So that is the poll that is going on right now. I posted it about an hour ago, and believe it or not, 77% of people believe that faith in God is one of the most important things for people to have. This is a 7-day poll, so it's going to be up for about a week. So check into it. But on to the topic of faith in God. As an individual, growing up, in Black America, I'm a 90s baby. You know what I mean? I'm a 90s baby. So I feel like my generation, Generation Y, which they try to lump us up into millennials, like I said, but I think Generation Y, my group, we were like the last generation that actually had the critical thinking capabilities to be able to really think about things that are happening. We had a lot of experiences that we can kind of go back to and reference in U.S. history to kind of make us think, you know what? Some things are just not calculating right. So, Generation Y, we are the ones that can kind of step back and reason on things and say, you know what? I see the plot. I see the plot. So, I was thinking to myself, I look at, Black America when I was growing up. And when I was growing up, our parents were still kind of in tune with old school Black America. You know, Even though we had like the 90s music and our parents were into those things too, for the most part, I grew up with, a parent that was very into old school Black America. So that was really still ingrained, those old school values, that old school music, that old school music showing Black people how to love each other properly. You know what I mean? Showing Black people how to come together. And when you look at the transition of Black music and even the Black image, because there's been like these points in times when I even look at, Blacks in certain eras, you know what I mean? There was a sophistication about the Black image that was not tainted or riddled with, I would say, the satanic images that I think is being portrayed of Black people in mainstream today. And it leads me to wonder if Black America has lost their faith. Have we lost our faith in God? And this is a really good question to ask as we continue to embrace all kinds of satanic influences that infiltrate our minds and lead us, piper us into believing that certain behaviors and certain ways of living is right, even down to certain ways in which we deal with our own brothers. And when I say brothers, I'm talking about our black brothers and even our brothers within our same nation. And we got to start thinking about this stuff because you see a lot of these YouTubers, and I think a lot of people are starting to be concerned about how the music and the culture that is being force fed down Black America's throat is influencing us not to progress, but to regress into a mindset of carelessness, actually. Because when you look at the music today and what it promotes, it's not promoting Black love. It's not promoting Black elevation. It's not promoting a sense of sophisticated Black imagery. It is promoting our Black women as twerking whores, looking like Baphomets with all this extra surgery. And then you got our brothers being portrayed as criminals, thugs, killers. It's like we keep going back to the same recycled things and we don't even know it because Satan has figured out a way to manipulate us into believing that these things are fun and innocent and just art. Sometimes, all art isn't good. Because art is still an influence factor. And when people can be paid to use their artistic capabilities to influence in a negative way, I think that everyone needs to sit back and think about that. So has Black America lost their faith? Have we lost our faith in God? Because growing up, I've always associated the Black community being one of those communities, although we have been marred by pains and transgressions and generational rhetoric, which I'm going to get into next. We have still had a sense of faith in God and accountability to God and a rejection of satanic type of things. And yet today's Black America, and not all of us, but many of us, seem to be very desensitized by these images of satanic symbolism in our music. We seem to be very desensitized with the fact that our women are being portrayed as not individuals that merit being somebody's wife, but harlots. And I understand the disconnection that a lot of our brothers have with the modern Black woman today because Black women have bought into the mindsets of independence and being a man and thinking like a man that we have literally lost our sense of what we absolutely need. And at the end of the day, what Black women absolutely need is the protection of a man. The protection of a man. And obviously, our brothers have to do a better job at proving that they are better protectors because, again, they are not innocent from this conversation as well. But we need to start rejecting these images of us. It's like, because there's a reason, in my opinion, why some of these celebrities are not as happy as they try to project to us that they are. And I think a reason is because they have bought into something that absolutely sucks the capability for them to be organically happy. That's why I said Satan was able to offer Jesus the world. He was able to offer him the world, and Jesus rejected the world. He rejected the world. So let's get into Generational rhetoric, because I had somebody ask me about this. They said, hey, can you do a video on critical race? I've done videos on critical race, but a lot of my talking points sometimes get riddled into other talking points. So for the next couple of minutes, I am going to talk about generational rhetoric that messes with the psychology of Black people. And when you think about it, excuse me. Okay. When you think about it, critical race theory has always been around, you know, in the form of generational rhetoric. And honestly, both Black and white people, pass on generational rhetoric that is not progressive to American society at all. Black states are guilty of this, but I've never been in a white home, and I never grew up knowing, learning what the old white folks was telling the younger white folks, but I can speak on my Black American experience and what I know the old Black folks told me. And, when I think about it, my friend Chris and I were talking about this because, he's a Black conservative man. And he is one of those people, if you don't follow him, he is really about the manosphere and bringing back masculinity into American society and letting men lead. And I am very much for that. And he's been my mentor in changing my mindset about even how to think about male leadership. So I definitely encourage women who are open to understanding the order of society and submitting to that, to connect with a conservative male, married preferably, that can help him and his wife, guide you to understanding the proper mindset, for a woman that is, on the market to be a wife. So I definitely encourage single women to connect with married couples and speak to married women about, how to be a suitable woman to a man. But off that, we're talking about generational rhetoric and some of those things that Black people say to their children that actually are a form of critical race theory, and they don't even know it. So Chris and I were talking about this yesterday, and he was telling me one of the things that his father told him was that you're Black and you have to work hard, right? And he believed that. And I said, you know what? My mom said something similar to me. She said, you got two strikes against you in this country. You are Black and you are a woman, and you have to work extra hard, And I think they were just following the Black American blueprint of what they thought it took to be a successful Black person in America. Bless their hearts. Bless their hearts. I know they had the best intentions. However, Chris and I were talking about that. He was like, that was a form of critical race. And I was like, yep, it's a form of critical race theory, because what they did unknowingly is implant the seed in us that we were going to have to work harder because of our identity in this country, right? So this is the rhetoric that a lot of Blacks have passed on to their children and other generations. So I wanted to go and identify the top 5 or 6 generational rhetoric that is passed on in the Black community that impacts self-actualization in American society. And it also continues to perpetuate fear in being successful in American society. So I'm going to attempt to, first of all, explain what I mean by this generational rhetoric. Now, in my mind, generational rhetoric is any ideas that are passed on from one generation to the next that passes fear, pain, and transgression on to the next generation, inhibiting self-actualization. So that is my definition of what I consider to be generational rhetoric. And I also put that this is a critical advice, and it is a form of race practices. So I want Black people to be aware of this, okay? These generational terms, and I'll identify it again for everybody that just came in. Generational rhetoric, and this could be in the Black community, white community, whatever, is any ideas that are passed on from one generation to the next that passes fear, pain, and transgression on to the next generation, inhibiting self-actualization. Okay, so let's go to the first generational rhetoric that we get. Vote Democrat because Democrats are for Blacks and Republicans are for whites. This plants the seed of racism and the GOP being racist. Now, why has this been a problem for Black people, right? Why has this been a problem for Black people? Because Democratic policies have not worked for Black people. They have not worked for Black people. They have not worked, I should say, for the advancement of Black people. If anything, they keep Black people in a welfare mindset instead of providing the appropriate education for them to self-actualize and actually use their skills and capabilities to compete in the free enterprise system. So that idea, that mindset that Democrats are for Black people, but then Black people continue to scream about the same pains, transgressions over and over again, and that they make the same voting decision, leads one to wonder if the Democrats are truly for Black people. And this does not exclude the Republicans, but I will say that the Republicans have less of an interest in inhibiting Black independence than Democrats do. And so I'm going to leave it at that. The second one is your Blackness is a strike against you. You must work harder. Obviously, again, bless our parents' hearts, but they don't understand by planting the seed that our identity, our color, will present limitations to us and how effective and limitless we can be in American society. That impacts actualization, and it continues the mindset. Hey, Mike, how are you? I'm just talking about generational rhetoric that is passed on within a Black community that messes with our psychologies to be able to actualize in America. Because when I look at a lot of these conversations that are happening about Black people and from Black people, a lot of this conversation is very much recycled rhetoric, continuously recycled rhetoric. And when you really get down to the root cause of why people believe certain things that they do, they really can't give you any type of current reasoning as to why. So, I like to go back to Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell said, this is how you can win almost any argument when people want to start putting these emotionally charged arguments on the table. So let's listen to Brother Thomas Sowell, because he said, when people are coming at you with these arguments, and this is what I had to do when I started thinking about the recycled rhetoric that was going on in the Black community, I had to ask myself the top 3 Thomas Sowell questions. Compared to what? And this is what my friend Chris, my mentor, one of my mentors, always, drill in me. The top 3 questions Thomas Sowell challenges us to ask people. Compared to what? At what cost? And where is your data? And when I talk about data, I am not talking about people's feelings. I'm not talking about people's excuses for their failures. I'm talking about where is the data that suggests that Blacks are worse off today than they were back when we came here or were transported here. So where's the data? Where's the data that suggests that white supremacy instead of Democrat supremacy isn't a bigger threat to Black people? Where's the data? Show me the data. Show us the money. So the third is go to your job and stay under the radar. How many people know friends that said this to them? I go to work, I do my job, I keep my head down, and then I get my paycheck. How many of y'all know people like that? They don't go to work to bother nobody. They go to work to do their jobs. Well, let me tell you about these people that just go to work and stay under the radar, because that's what somebody told them to do. This is how you're able to retain this job in this big company that Black people like you aren't really supposed to be working at, right? This is how they tell you to retain that job. Go in there, do your job, and stay under the radar. That's what some of the old Black folks would tell us, right? Well, let me tell you what happens when you go into work, you do your job, and you stay under the radar. You will possibly be retained doing that, right? You're going to stay under the radar. And 5 years later, what's going to happen? Somebody who's been working there 2 years is going to get a promotion that you wish that you had, and then you're going to be screaming racism. Racism. But all the while, your ass was under the radar. And the rock stars are the ones that are over the radar. They're delivering. Everybody know who they are. They're integrating. They're networking with people within that organization. They're helping people out. They're volunteering when they can. The over the radar people, not the under the radar people. But some old folks will have young Black people believe that their race they have to go into work with a mask on. When I hear some of these diversity and inclusion arguments where Blacks are saying, I have to go to work with a mask on every day, I can't bring my whole self to work. And it's like, who the hell told you not to bring your whole self to work? Because I could have swore when you pass an interview, you done already got the damn buy-in, and these people already know who they working with if you were authentic at the interview. See, a lot of people feel like they need to go into an interview and be somebody else, right? And that's the problem. No volunteering for any organization. Time is money, honey. Hey, you don't have to volunteer, but you can definitely put yourself out there however you do that. But what I am saying is that people who stand out in the workplace get the promotion. That is the point. Hey, what's up, Tony? What's up, Sammy? What's up, Mike again? I'm saying people who stand out in the workplace gets the promotion. People who deliver in the workplace. And sometimes those delivery isn't just about doing your job and doing your job well. Did you exceed expectations? Did you go over and beyond what was expected of you? These are the individuals that get promoted, and it's not about time on job. I wish people would stop equating time on job as a reason to be advanced, because you could be sitting there just coasting for 5 years, and now you feel like you're entitled for a promotion because you've been somewhere for a long time. You know what I mean? So this is the mindset that sometimes Black people and even other people, I don't know, put into their kids' mind that when they start a job, you have to wear this mask. And I'm like, if you pass the interview, you bring your whole self to work. And when you ask many of these individuals, who told you to wear a mask? Why couldn't you bring your whole self to work? A lot of people will realize that it was their own insecurities based off of generational rhetoric and advice that caused them to go into that office space and not have the best work experience that they could have. And so that is one of those generational rhetorics to me that gets into the psychology of new generation Blacks, and to me inhibits their ability to be limitless. That is very true. There is no place for faceless, for the faceless. Absolutely. You got to show face. You got to show up. You got to put your deliveries and your capabilities on the table. A lot of people are not really sharks, they're around a bunch of sharks and they are a fish in a tank. And if you want to be in the promotion space, you got to be a shark in a fish tank. You got to be a shark in a fish tank. Shark tail. All right, number 4. Don't trust the white people at work. They are looking to sabotage you. Anybody heard that before? Don't trust the white folks at work. They're looking to sabotage you. Now, I'm going to speak on my own work experience, okay? I've worked with, I spent the first 14 years of my careers working in higher education administration. And then I went into the automotive space doing automotive sales, staff, and recruiting. And now I work in the financial sector. I really haven't been able to network too much in the financial space because of COVID, but I can only speak to my previous experiences being integrated in my job on networking. You know, I will say that that I've had several types of individuals look out for me, and those individuals have been people of all colors. And I would say that when it comes to my advancement and vouching for me, I have had more whites and or non-blacks vouching for me in the workspace than I have had my own people. And I have worked in environments where there were a lot of us. But see, sometimes when there are a lot of us in the environment, there's also a lot of unnecessary competition and cattiness that really distract from progress or even a sense of team progress where everybody can have their deliveries. Because I feel like there's always going to be somebody that needs to be the glory whore. I believe in the glory whores, the ones who can't see other people succeed. They always want to be the person to win. And my thing is, it's one thing to be competitive, but it's another thing to be a competitive person and realize that sometimes you're not going to win them all. You're not going to win them all. And real competitive people can step back from their losses and recognize that. You know what I mean? But when it comes to that, don't trust the white people at work. They are looking to sabotage you, which a lot of black people put in next generation's heads. That is psychologically inhibiting that person and even making them be very defensive about their work experience when they don't need to. Because a lot of these blacks that I speak to, I'll tell you straight up, they will say, well, after I integrated in the work environment, then I felt like I didn't need to have a mask on, and I got comfortable, and I realized that, these people are just here to support me just like I'm here to support them. So a lot of this generational rhetoric gets inside of our minds, and it inhibits us from being able to actualize in different work environments and even in society in a meaningful way without these psychological inhibitors. And again, I view this generational rhetoric as a form of critical race theory. And that is why the black mindset has not been able to progress, because we keep recycling rhetoric within our community that inhibits self-actualization without fear. And that is what I think, that when it comes to the Democratic Party and the rhetoric that's on their lips, that party would be nothing without racism. They would be nothing without the pains and transgressions of black people. So they need black people in constant fear of the things that really other blacks have a legitimate cause, in my opinion, to have a strong emotion about. I don't discredit the experiences of blacks in America that have truly felt injustice in whatever form. But what I find a problem with is that these individuals put their experiences onto other people as if it's going to be their own. And I feel like that is what's happening within the Black American social contract, where we are recycling rhetoric. We are pushing other people's experiences onto next generation as if this is what you are going to experience in this country. And most newer blacks can acknowledge that a lot of the narratives being perpetuated about the Black American experience is highly exaggerated and it's not true to reality. But somebody gonna get paid for trying to make it a reality. All right, number 5. And I talked about this in my last discussion with white men dating black women because of racism. And I will go out and say any black person that dates outside of their race, there seems to be sometimes an internal opinion that this person either hates themselves or that the person that they're dating has something to prove being with that person, that outside of loving that person organically. And, again, I think that's a really sort of ignorant assumption to make about why people fall in love. It's not a skin color issue, it's a human nature issue. If someone at work feels you are a threat to their advancement, they will try to sabotage you. Absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% concur with that, because I will be honest with you. Again, you want to talk about women empowerment and all that stuff. To me, I have not really felt super duper empowered by women in the workplace. And these were women of all colors. Let me tell you, and predominantly women that were my color, because when you dealing with different type of personality women in the workplace, still these people are denying the fact that there's an alpha female character type, but there is. And these women tend to be very intimidating to other women in the workplace. So these beta type women, like I said in my video with my friend Brittany, alpha and beta type females in the workplace, they catalog and they look to sabotage. They can be very, very vindictive, just as much as alpha can have a tendency to do that if they are the wrong type of alpha. So it is very, very true when it comes to hating in the workplace and sabotaging people, cataloging so you can damage people. There is no skin color. I mean, look at how Candace Owens tried to sabotage Kimberly Klacik. Shoot, two black women in the Republican Party. Two black women in the Republican Party, and she basically tried to take her out. That is why, when people talk about, not trusting other people, sometimes, some black people, they find more loyalty from people that don't look like them than they do, but then they still have to have this false sense of, black loyalty and not dealing with other people and being afraid of dealing with other people or whatever, because there's this sense of black loyalty. And I'm like, stop it. Stop it already. It's just like Black Lives Matter. Like, how many people, like, I can believe, to be honest with you, I cannot believe how illogical black people were with Black Lives Matter. Some black people. Because I totally believe that mostly white people supported Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? They were able to appeal to the anger and frustrations of black people. But it's like, come on, let's look at Black Lives Matter. The rhetoric literally stops at the door of the black community. Literally. And I'm going to keep saying that. So it's like black people want us, I feel like, some of, blacks want everybody buying into this tribalized mindset of we have to think and feel the same way, we have to reason the same way. And it's like, well, if we're going to be collectively thinking, can we at least make sense? Because that rhetoric, if we're creating a movement placing value on the life of black people, how is it that black people have a right to devalue each other? I mean, that just really don't make any sense. So I wanted to do this video because someone asked me to do a video on critical race theory. And I'm like, look, you can find a ton of videos about people talking about critical race theory, what it does to the mental dispositions of individuals in the society. But I wanted to talk about critical race theory from the aspects of the inner rhetoric within the black community that is a form of critical theory that inhibits self-actualization of individual blacks as well as blacks within the social contract. So to recap, generational rhetoric are ideas that are passed on from one generation to the next that passes fear, pain, and transgression. And this can even be broadened out. I just did something thought of something really quick just to give you some context of what I mean by generational rhetoric. So, ideas that are passed on from one generation to the next that passes fear, pain, and transgression on to the next generation, inhibiting self actualization, right? And so I went over the top 6 inhibitors that I have heard within, from older folks within my family that I feel like, only plants the seeds of critical race theory in the form of black there. And, here's the thing. I'm not saying that these older black folks had ill intentions. And I am not saying that at all. And I want to be very clear. I don't think these older black folks had ill intentions us these things. I really don't. I think that they felt that they were obligated to tell us about their experiences, right, within this country, all the while the world was changing after those experiences and things were getting better for black people in this country. But yet those experiences is what they were stuck on because they experienced them. But what a lot of them didn't realize is that as the world was changing or whatnot, the next generations of blacks were experiencing the effects of what they experienced lesser and lesser. So, but what happened is the rhetoric kept being pushed down from one generation to the next as if this is going to be your experience. There are a lot of Black Americans today that have actualized themselves, have been able to get up, show up, leverage your skill or capability in a meaningful way, become successful. There are a lot of multi-millionaire Blacks that you don't know of that are not mainstream because these are people who started from the bottom. They had their time on job. They invested their money well. They had smart money habits. And they were able to retire with a sense of comfortability. But all the while, you have some other aspects of the community that, for whatever reason, whether they were born in a generation of poverty, because if you get to know my content, I break the community down. You know what I mean? You got your poverty line Blacks, which we find a lot of these police lynchings kind of occur within that area. You have your fading middle class Blacks, and then you have your upper echelon Blacks. Your wealthy Blacks. There is a class system in this country, and Black America has their good old boys club too. So, that's a whole other topic, but that just goes to say that this generational rhetoric that we pass on from one generation to the next, we have to have proper context. We have to be objective about these conversations, right? So I'm going to recap it again. First, vote Democrat because the Democrats are for Blacks, planting the seed of racism and that the GOP is racist, right? So, because if you're saying that this party is for Black people and that party is for the white man, you're really creating a scenario that the GOP is racist, all the while deflecting from the fact that the Democratic Party is likely more racist than the Republican Party on a bad day. But that's just my personal opinion. All right. Second, your Blackness is a strike against you in this country, so you must work harder, right? Again, planting the seeds that your identity limits your ability to be able to succeed in this country. And then what you do is you just go ahead and you add all those little critical theories that they like to sprinkle in now and add all these scenarios of justice, and there you go. In your mind, my Blackness inhibits me, and they'll show you racism all day so that you know that your Blackness inhibiting you because the Democrats got the media, okay? The Democrats got the media. When you go to college and you major in liberal arts, you are majoring in democratic emotions. Democrats just try to use us for votes. Absolutely. Here's the thing. Older black people are committed to the Democrat because they have the mindset of civil rights, not even recognizing the fact that the Republicans had the civil rights movement passed. And we wouldn't even have the civil rights movement if we left it up to them hoe ass Democrats, because they were filibustering the damn bill for like what 75 days, and everybody wanted to be like, oh, those are those Dixiecrats. I'm like, bruh, stop, stop. The Democrats had a known white supremacist in their party up until 2012. Stop. Both of them parties racist. You're just dealing with a different type of racist. And I'm not gonna say Republicans are completely racist, but I've ran into some Republicans lately that I am saying is suspect. Some of y'all Republicans are suspect and you know it. The reason why the Democrats know Republicans are so damn racist is because they know they got racists on both damn sides. Both damn sides. Let's be real about this. You know, when people talk about leave the Democrat plantation, it's like what? And go on over to the Republican plantation so they can have some tokens? Let's be real. Neither one of these parties have the interest of black people outside of votes and glory. And saying that, oh, look, we got more of your black people today. Look at that. You know, and I want people to be clear. Black people did not vote for the Republican Party. They voted for Trump when they voted for Trump. Okay? I don't understand why the GOP think that any black traction to them is because of them. It's because of Donald Trump. It's because of Donald Trump. I didn't vote for the GOP. I voted for Trump. Straight up. And that's what Republicans don't realize. They don't realize that. They do not realize this at all. That Trump got the black vote, not the GOP. And that's why it was so stupid for them not to support him and go the distance on him all the damn way. Like, you know, those rhino Republicans, man, they like, you can tell that they are trying to sabotage the Republican Party. You can tell the Republican Party got so many ops. I feel like there are so many ops in the Republican Party right now. They don't even realize how many ops they got. Because I'm starting to look at a lot of these characters on the Republican side. Now, mind you, I just went over to the conservative side last year. So I'm getting to know all the players and the sayers and all that stuff. And I'm just looking at some of these goofies like, bruh, y'all party ain't right. Y'all need to clean house. Straight up. Straight up. But for those of y'all who joined, we're talking about generational rhetoric that is passed on within the black community that is a form of critical race theory. So critical race theories have always been sprinkled in. So this conversation that we're just having, to me, just them being aggressive about targeting a younger demographic with these ideologies. Here we go. Soon as I start speaking the real, then the devil start working his magic and his demons start messing with my stuff. Am I still on, you guys? Because I see the devil working. Okay, thank you, God. See, I think I'm back on. But critical race has always been sprinkled into the Republic. I like Rand Paul and Tulsi Gabbard. I like them too. They seem to be very independent. At this point, I'm an independent, and I know that what I'm about to say is not going to sit well with a lot of people. You know, I am not going to make the decision not to vote. But what I'm not going to do is vote for neither a Democrat or Republican side if I don't believe in the agenda and how it ultimately benefits America. So my idea is I'm just going to vote independent. I don't care how anybody thinks about that, because I don't want to be responsible for what these administrations do to the American people. So that's, and I used to talk crap about independence, but now I understand where they are coming from. We don't want to be responsible. We don't want to be responsible for what either side of the aisle does that affects an American, especially our middle class, negatively. So That's where the independent people are. That's where my mindset is. I don't support either of the political parties because I feel like they're both messy. They're both messy. And that's why I tell my black people we need to have a strong libertarian party now. America needs a strong middle America party. That's what we need. We've been doing this bipartisan stuff for too long, and everybody keeps saying, oh, well, you just got to pick a side. This is how it's always been. And the more political parties you have, the worse. No. A third political party, in my opinion, of independent people, I think would be a winning ticket because Americans are tired of both of these parties. Americans are more independent and politically neutral. You know, this idea of party loyalty. My thing is, why would you have party loyalty to political parties that have not been loyal to you? And American people need to start being real about that. You need to start being so real about that. Whether you are a Democrat or Republican, they're not for you, boo-boo. They are for your vote. They are for your vote. And a lot of people want to talk crap because they're like, you're conservative. You have to be Republican. I don't got to be a damn thing because conservatism is about values. It's about values. It doesn't say I need to vote for either one of these slimes on whatever day they have a decent politician that they want to make popular. Like, I believe that Americans should start really, because I feel like, these political parties, they just come up with these like establishment dweebs, these dorky ass establishment people. Like, we're supposed to be in awe of them. Like, if they don't put Mitt Romney on a shelf somewhere and start freaking new, I mean, God, it's like, why are these people there? Even on the Democratic side, it's like, why is Maxine Waters still there? Why is Maxine Waters still there, Democrats? This is why we need term limits. We need term limits. If we just have to have a bipartisan system, we need term limits. We really need term limits, and we really need term limits based on deliveries. How many are familiar with ISO? You know what I mean? It's like a set of standards, right? Say what you're going to do it, measure how you did, and then continuously improve. The United States is not an ISO mindset, it seems, in Congress. These people are not ISOian. Yeah, I'm just sitting up here and all they're doing is race peddling. I look at the blacks that have been handpicked to be in Congress as nothing more than spokespeople for racism. Spokespeople for what their Democratic puppeteer has told them to say. And you look at Kamala Harris right now. She's looking silly as hell. Kamala looking silly as hell because she's feeling the residuals, like I said in another video, of being a token. Anytime you fix your lips to say that this man is racist and I would have had to be the residual when I was a girl and given all this violin, and I was a little girl and I was a victim of this, and Tara Reid, I believe she should be heard. And then all of a sudden, Joe's like, I picked you. Joe picked me. You be the first black woman VP. Like, girl, get the hell out of here with this, you token. They're not about to let you succeed, Kamala. Get over it. You can laugh your way all the way to shame. We have been dealing with this for a lifetime. We complain, they promise, nothing is done. That's because Americans are so distracted. They are not educated. And when I say educated, I'm not talking about what a political party's ideology is. I'm talking about what their plan is. We are not looking at the plans. We're not looking at the money. We're not looking at the data that suggests that these things need to be done. I think about all the presidents that have had spending bills, and most of these spending bills have had infrastructure in them. And I'm sitting up here like, man, why the hell we don't look like the Jetsons up in here? I thought we would have been flying high and had all kinds of crazy stuff going on and stuff, and we had like floaties and stuff. It's like we had prototypes, like the hoverboard. That was like that's as back to the future as America and our technology and innovation has gotten. Is that, and I don't see people with hoverboards that much anymore because they were exploding on people. So I don't see a lot of the innovation happening. I don't see a lot of the residuals of this infrastructure packaging that they keep talking about. I even think about just in Michigan, we have lead pipes. Our infrastructure ain't shit. People got to have filters on their waters because the infrastructure is so terrible. I mean, where's the money going is what I'm wondering. All these big spending bills, we probably about what, $32 trillion in debt? 32 trillion. Now, how many shareholders do you know would buy into a company that had $32 trillion in debt, spending like a bipolar maniac, and their company looking broke as hell? Infrastructure crumbling. And this has been their patterns. And you can't blame the debt on one administration or the other because it's accumulated debt. This is debt that is being accumulated. And Americans need to stop thinking about the rhetoric, because there's politics and then there's policies. The politics is all that campaign fervor. You know what I mean? Vote for him. He's a racist. He's a this. He's a that. Oh my God. Blah, blah, blah. Scandal, 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 scandal. All the while, you don't know how this person delivered. Ain't nobody focusing on this person's track record. It's like, who hires a CEO of their business like Americans hire their president? Somebody tell me that. It's a popularity contest. No freaking way should Joe Biden be our president for a variety of different reasons. And yet Americans bought into a popularity contest. They did. They was like, let's not talk about Biden's delivery. Let's not remind black people of all the racist things Biden has said about them or whatever. Let's just sell them on racism and emotional appeal. And this is what happened when people vote on racism instead of policies. So I would say that Americans need to wake up and be more informed about the agenda, the policies that these people want to push out. And once you get in, don't be popping out no secret policies on us once you get into the slime group. To me, our politicians are not transparent. I think they are more corrupt. And I feel like they coalesce and conspire to plans and ideas that to me ultimately does not benefit America. And if this is an America sovereignty war, then I'm saying that, why are we destroying the sovereignty of our nation right now? Because unfortunately for me, I don't see a whole lot of people just crazy about the dollar right now. Am I wrong about this? It's a whole bunch of nations just crazy about the U.S. dollar. Do I got something wrong? Is the U.S. dollar just on and popping? Because, in my mind, I'm just thinking to myself, he who holds the world currency holds the power of the world. So if your currency is failing, wouldn't that mean that your sovereignty is failing? I don't know. That's just being thinking off my top of my little head sometimes, just throwing it out there. Food for thought. What's up with the infrastructure bill? Didn't the Dems blow it up with nonsense and then point the finger at Republicans for not pushing it through? Everybody's pointing the fingers right now. Everybody's pointing the finger right now. And to be honest with you, I don't even know the drama with the infrastructure bill because I have been literally looking at other drama that's supposedly distracting America. So I'm going to have to check into that, Tony. I'm pretty sure the Democrats probably bloated it up with something, but let me look into that because I don't want to speak on nothing that I don't know too much about, but it sounds about right. Biden is a total fail situation. He is embarrassing. He's embarrassing. And to be honest with you, it's like I be looking at his wife sometimes, like, did that man cheat on you or something? Because how I wouldn't let my man just be out here in these streets embarrassing himself, knowing that he seemingly is cognitively challenged, and he's not going to be used for nothing but a dummy to push somebody else behind the scenes, the puppet masters. Like, I mean, seriously, we couldn't even get a better dummy. We couldn't get a better dummy, Joe Biden, just because he was Obama's boy. Ain't nobody. Yeah, I haven't paid much attention, but I heard it was soaked with grease. Everything. Let me tell you something. Democrats are like manic depressive individuals. You know what I mean? They say that when you're in mania, you buy a whole lot of stuff. People have very excessive behaviors, and shopping and overspending is one of them. I feel like we have a bunch of manic depressive beta people running the country right now. We have a bunch of people who are insecure, guilty, unactualized for whatever reason, and they have power to make decisions. And when you get a lame power, this is what happens. These people are lame. Straight weekend at Bernie's, not trying to be funny. Oh, bro, Joe Biden is weekend at Bernie's for real. Like, pretty soon, like, I can guess in year two, if they're like, look, we can't hold this down anymore. We can't do it anymore. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to probably end up having a little person hoisting him up, making him look alive and stuff. It's just crazy. It's crazy. Joe Biden is not he's not like, I want Trump back. I'm like, you like, man, Trump should have won off of charisma. Did you see the way that man campaigned? And then Joe Biden want to blame it on COVID, but it's like, nah, bro, you really are this lame. That's how I knew they fixed the election. I mean, Trump's rallies was just off the chains. Every time you look at him on TV, it was like a damn Bon Jovi concert or something. Oh, fuck Bon Jovi, nah. Never mind. Take him out or whatever. Any other popular star. I don't fuck with John Bon Jovi because he keep running his mouth lately. He's like a Democrat. I know a lot of Republican women like, no, John Bon Jovi is ugly, y'all. Now we don't love him. He's a Democrat, so we don't mess with him. But Trump's rallies was off the chains, and I'm like, nothing popped off at him. I'm like, Joe Biden, you did not win the election. You did not win. And you know what was crazy? Because out here in Detroit, and this is how I knew Joe Biden didn't win. Because Joe Biden, he sent his little black folks or whatever to campaign for him. Now and I hate to use the slogan that Democratic black people are slaves, right? Because I feel like Republican blacks can be slaves too to whatever agenda that somebody wants them to perpetrate. But he did not come out that much. He had Lizzo. Lizzo was out here doing concerts for Joe Biden. Lizzo out here, and I'm looking at even the concert with Lizzo was not compared to the Trump rallies. Like, nobody was really checking for these people like that. Not even the front faces that they brought out. I think I even saw, like, did Michael Jordan do a campaign for Biden? One of these major sports stars did a campaign for Biden, and it looked pathetic. Nobody even showed up for his ass. That's why I'm like, I don't know about this. Like, they wanted Trump out for sure. And I'm pretty sure that they would just go through all this. Anybody hear about that COVID shot giving people magnetism? Turning them into magnets? Or like the shot point, they can stick a magnet on them or whatnot. The fallacy with that conspiracy, I really want people to understand, and somebody made this point, is, U.S. coins are not magnetic. So if you see an individual trying to state a point about the COVID shot, and I don't subscribe to, those types of discussions in terms of encouraging people or discouraging people from making healthcare decisions, but I will say to be leery of some of the information that you are getting from people, because they're making, some people are showing, oh look, this quarter is sticking to me, and this is the passionately ignorant liberal, because U.S. corns are not magnetic. So, be careful of these, passionately ignorant folks on both sides who just want to make a point, and their point maybe don't make any sense. Like, I get it. You can stick a magnet to your arm, but if you're trying to make the case with a U.S. quarter, you're failing. You're failing. So for all the Twitter people and the Instagram people that are talking about they took the COVID shot and now they can they're magnetized or whatnot, don't use a U.S. coin to make your point. Trump rallies look like the Thanksgiving parade, and Biden's look like an AA meeting. Everyone all quiet and depressed. I know, because Marxism isn't fun. Let me show you guys something. I posted this on LinkedIn. This is old girl Gwen Berry, right? I like to call this before Marxism and after Marxism. I don't know if you guys look at how happy this girl looks holding that US flag. Look at how happy she looked holding that flag. I said, will somebody get this girl a mini flag or something, give her the feeling back? And then when she turned Marxist a couple of years later, she's looking like, oh, well, that's what happened when the devil gets to your ass. Because Marxism, I'm telling you, is demonic. Karl Marx even made mentions to, and people are always talking about, which Marxism are you talking about? I'm like, man, we rocking with the Karl Marx in America right now. It seems to me, we're rocking with Karl Marx society stuff right now. So I don't know about Groucho Marxism or none of that stuff. I will look into it just to inform myself, but I feel like we rocking with Karl. Karl Marx demons are busy in America right now. I don't know about any other Marxism, but Karl Marxism, his demons are rocking hard with Americans right now. But anyways, thank you so much, you guys, for joining into this discussion. Do you have any questions about anything that I have said? Keep people aware with the real conversation, some of the root causes. Like, share, and subscribe if you think that this would benefit other people to get a conservative perspective with some real talk. This is how we talk. We're not pandering. We are informing, And so you walk away with this information. Oh, I forgot about the walk away. I always got to put the walk away in there. So now that we know that generational rhetoric among Blacks inhibits self-actualization, right? What do we do with this, right? Well, first of all, we need to obviously think about how Black America perpetuate critical theories by way of, he said Groucho Marx was the boss. He's the super boss. He's the last boss. I'm going to have to look into that. But, if you know that you are passing on rhetoric or ideas that inhibit somebody else, the smart thing is to stop it. And if you want to share your experiences of what you experience, a lot of times, I've heard some reasonable older people share their experience, their American experiences with other Blacks, but they say it in the means of, you guys have it better than us today. Back in my day, we had to go through this, but you guys have it better than us today. Because that is a more realistic truth to today's Black American experience. And I think the reason why a lot of people, even front-faced Blacks, are continuing to pass this generational rhetoric on is because I truly believe it's more self-interest and profitable for them to do it. That is this rhetoric is not elevating Black people at all. It's marginalizing us. So we need to stop. We need to understand that the generational rhetoric that we pass on to our people is a form of critical race theory that we ourselves are passing on. And we need to stop helping these racist academics marginalize the thinking of our children. You all have a wonderful day, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.